Thank you, Jack. Thank you, worship team. Happy summer, Hillcrest family. It's here. It's arrived. It's good to see you guys. My name is David. If we don't know each other, I've been a pastor here, hard to believe, 6 years. We're just reflecting on that recently and just how meaningful these past 6 years have been. And one thing that I've appreciated about Hillcrest from when we arrived, this baby bottle initiative that happens from Mother's Day to Father's Day. And so you probably saw it in the lobby. It's a way we get to demonstrate connection and support with an organization called CareNet, a crisis pregnancy center, and it's been a meaningful time. So if you've taken advantage of this, that's wonderful. Next week, we are collecting them for Father's Day, which is exciting. And something we love to do between services are these family parties. And so next week, between services, we are doing a meet and greet, M-E-A-T, meet and greet. And part of our First Impressions team is going to be putting on a meaningful, I think, different varieties of meats for us to enjoy and celebrate God's grace in our church family. And just on a random note, you don't have to answer this out loud. When you drove here this morning, and you know, you're all smiles when you walk in the door, but was there any tension that happened in the drive here? You're like, sit down, buckle up, get this stuff done. Never happens in my home, right? Never happens. This morning, as I was leaving, I was backing the car out, and I heard a bump, and I'm like, is something in my trunk? Did I leave something in there? It's rattling around, and I'm not flying out of the garage. I'm going slowly, and then I realized, when we went for a walk yesterday, we left the stroller behind my car. And so I ran over our stroller, to which Casey and I had a brief interaction of just joy and love and grace. And needless to say, we're going to be buying a new stroller probably shortly. But just these moments in life that happened as we prepare to gather on Sundays, just part of the journey of life. We are entering the summer series, and I wanted to start with this graphic. Does anybody know what this brand, this logo is attached to? Has anyone ever seen this before? Yeah. What is it? Ancestry.com. Their revenue is about $1 billion every year. And it is a profound organization rooted in the idea that we want to know where we come from. We want to know who we're connected to. We have this innate desire to understand our heritage, our roots, our background. And that is the essence of our summer series this year. We are exploring God's story. This story from Genesis to Revelation, what it means that God is inviting us to belong to His forever family. And so usually what we do from September to May, we have this process where we go through the text. We look at the text and apply it to our life so that we have a clarity on how to live. We really want to read so we can really know, so we can really live. And this summer, we're going to try and capture the entire story so that when we get into the fall, we have a better understanding when we enter whatever text we're in. And so I'm thrilled as we look from Genesis to Revelation and see this story, this heritage we have. And we're starting in Genesis. Now, what's the question we all want to know when we hit Genesis? What's the question everybody asks? How long did it take? How long did it take? And yet, it doesn't seem to be the answer Moses is answering. And so, as we get into Genesis, I'm trying to maybe eliminate that from your mind just a little bit. And we're going to see, right? Was it the first 7 literal days? These are two general perspectives that most people have. the first 7 literal days, or the days are figurative and creation took place over a very long time. And this morning, I just want to introduce maybe a position I hold, but around our doctrinal statement, there's freedom around the creation of the world because the answer isn't when, but who. And as we get into Genesis this morning, to the start of the story, may that be the idea that is landing on us as we read Genesis 1 together, and we just feel the weight of what it means that in the beginning, God. So turn with me. Genesis 1 is where we are going to be this morning, and I'm just going to read it, and I'm going to do my best to continue to click the slides while I'm reading. But we're going to go Genesis 1 to 31, a long chapter. But let this hit you about the forever family God is building from beginning to forever. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And God said, Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters. Let these separate the waters from the waters. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together He called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of heaven." So God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, and God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening and there was morning the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things and beasts of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, over the livestock, and over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in His own image. In the image of God He created him, male and female He created them. And God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruits. You shall have them for food to every beast of the earth, and every bird of the heavens, and everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life. I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. When you hear Genesis 1, I hope the resounding reality that Moses calls us to from the very beginning of this book, in the beginning, God. That as we go through life and we long to hear and experience where we're from, God shouts to us and says, find life in me, in the beginning, God. Pray with me and we will dig into this text together. Every week, God, we declare you are good. Reveal yourself to us as we jump into this summer series from Genesis to Revelation to see your forever family being formed from beginning to forever. Help us find life in your family. And help us see it starts with you. Always for your glory we pray. Amen. Amen. I hope as we enter this summer, this is the big idea of where we're headed. We're going to look through the Bible as a true story of a holy God lovingly restoring his broken world through Jesus Christ, gathering people from every nation who might belong to his forever family. And hear me say, even as we start this, I do understand that family does come with some pain. I do understand even using that language might rise up in you someone who might not be sitting around some of the holiday meals this year, or some of the tension you might feel in some estranged relationship with your parents, your siblings, your kids. Again, this idea of family stirs up pain. Ancestry.com gives us an understanding that it is where we clamor for our connection, and yet God offers an opportunity to belong to his forever family. And it starts with God as the author of all things. I remember I was in college, and there was a debate between a guy named Christopher Hitchens, a known atheist, and a guy named William Lane Craig. And I remember sitting and hearing this debate go on, and I remember Christopher Hitchens has now passed away. I remember being enamored with his presentation and communication style. Not with his arguments, but with how he communicated. It was compelling. And yet, over and over, there was an argument that William Lane Craig would address and simply lay out. And so we're going to fly through his arguments fairly quickly. But if that's your side of the brain, left brain, right brain, if you love this kind of stuff, I would encourage you, go dig in a little bit further to some of these. But in the beginning, God, William Lane Craig laid out these different arguments about how God is the author and creator of all things. The ontological argument, a being than which no greater can be conceived. If we can conceive of some higher being that is above everything else, that should then lead us to explore who that being is. That would be the ontological argument. The teleological argument from design. When we look at the complexity of life, it should lead us to believe there's an intelligent designer. I always love, you guys seen Lego Wars? Stinking love Lego Wars. Love that show. Our kids love watching these things get built and designed. When you see these pieces start to come together, I have no ability to create anything, and so I'm always enthralled with what takes place. But you know what they're starting with? Blocks. They're starting with something. We believe that out of nothing, God created everything. It speaks to an intelligent designer. A blank page doesn't suddenly erupt. The universe doesn't suddenly erupt. Instead, this teleological argument design, the complexity of human life, requires an intelligent designer. The cosmological argument, the existence of the universe, requires a cause beyond itself. Much like the Lego blocks, it requires a creator. William Lane Craig then offers another argument similar to this that he went and researched called the Kalam argument from time. The beginning of time requires an eternal cause beyond time. William Lane Craig argues that is God, an eternal being outside of time that then enters in and then ushers in a beginning. And then another argument that as we look around makes a case for the moral argument, the argument for morality, the existence of commonly shared universal moral laws across history and nationality reveal that God is the moral lawgiver over the universe. And so if you love geeking out over that stuff, that might be when you hear these stories. It's about a who. Who was that God? Now, I want to briefly address the view that I hold comes from a guy named John Sailhamer. We all want to know when, right? And I told you to kind of table that for a minute. We're just going to deal with it for a minute here. John Sailhamer, Hebrew scholar, was at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. He was at Bethel in Minnesota for a little bit and then went out to the West Coast. And he attempts to, rather than take a view from what we can see and import it onto the text, I appreciate him as a Hebrew scholar trying to read the words and have that interpret his understanding. And so he reads these words, and sometimes there's baggage that comes from us in English reading these words. And we do our best. We trust translators. I love translators. They're brilliant people. And there are times when we go, maybe there's a way to translate that better. And so in our English, there's some baggage that comes with this translation because we read, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning, God created out of nothing the heavens and the earth. In English, when we hear the word beginning, and hear me say, if you want to read more, this is a book called Genesis Unbound by John Sailhamer. When we hear the word beginning, what do we hear? Start. John Sailhamer argues this. He says, Moses had that word available to him, but chooses a different Hebrew word that instead speaks to an indefinite period of time. In the beginning could be better translated over some indefinite period of time. He references multiple times that word rashit is used, and it's usually speaking about the beginning of a king's reign that didn't happen for 20 years, or in Job, in the beginning of Job's life, that was actually over a period of about 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 months might be. He talks about that word being an indefinite period of time. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. When we hear heavens, what do we hear? Galaxies. When we hear earth, what do we hear? Planet. Because we're modern people and we understand what satellites look like when we conceive of a universe. For Moses, an ancient man, he's using the Hebrew word land and sky. And in Hebrew, when you put land and sky together, Sailhamer argues it's like an idiom. Like if we said that's off the wall, what do we mean? That's crazy. So when Moses puts those two words together, it's a Hebrew idiom that means everything. So in the beginning, in some indefinite period of time, God created everything. And then there's a conjunction not written in English, because some people want to make that verse 1 be a title. In the beginning, God created heavens and the earth, and there's a conjunction there. And the earth was formless and void. The word in Hebrew for formless and void, tohu wabohu, means uninhabitable. Uninhabitable. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, which is what? Land. The land was without form and void. And so that land was uninhabitable. Then from verse 3 to 31, what does God do? In 6, I think, literal days, he begins to make that habitable for whom? Who does he make on day 6? Man. And so we begin seeing In the beginning, in some indefinite period of time, God created everything, and that land was uninhabitable, and so he begins to make it habitable. Now, one of the questions, you ever come across someone that just says maybe something like this? They go, man, if Earth is the only planet with life and humans the only rational beings, why did God create such a vast, seemingly empty universe? Has everyone said that to you? They've said it to me. We got some dude who wants to travel to make another planet inhabitable. There's a whole show dedicated, and I love, anyway, what's the dude's name? He's got the crazy hair. Anyway, why is this so empty? And you just pause for 1 second and begin sitting in some of the complexities of life. I just want to list 4 that bent my mind this week. There are, anybody want to know what number that is? 206 trillion stars. There's more than all the grains of sand on the earth in the galaxy, in the universe. You just go, I can't even get my head around the just right oxygen level, where there is roughly 20% 21%, bump that up to 25, wildfires rage out of control, drop it to 15, and complex life struggles to breathe. Our earth is so incredibly unique in how it's situated to sustain life. Something about our eyes. Talk to an optometrist. Your eyes can distinguish up to 10 million different colors, far beyond any camera or screen. I mean, like the thing we are born with, our eyes, and the ability to see, that's fascinating. And then, again, one of the unique places on our globe, the Amazon harbors nearly 10 million insects, 40,000 plant species, 2,200 birds, and still trying to describe all that is. Rather than ask, why is the universe seemingly so empty if you believe that God created this? Another way to ask that question would be, could it be that the vastness of the universe is less about us and more about God declaring the glory of its creator, even if earth alone is home to life? What's creation about? It's not when. It's the who. And when we read Genesis, who does God create on day 6? Man. That God made us special as his image bearers. Here's where he starts. We see the flow of the text. He starts with vegetation, and he says, let us sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed and fruits, each according to its kind, and then seeds and other trees, each according to its kind. Then what does he do? He creates fish, birds, and animals, each according to their kind. Verse 21, living creatures, the sea creatures, the waters that swarm, every winged bird according to its kind. And then on day 6, what does he say? Let us make man in our image. Here's what he says. Verse 20, 25, 26. There you go. 25, animals according to their kind. And then in verse 26, then God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. And so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. You guys ever take family portraits? It's summer. Maybe you love the fall season and you prefer, and you have these portraits, these family portraits of your resemblance. This beautiful idea that these are the images of your family. Something that is incredibly, incredibly meaningful for us. This was July 2018, a day I'll never forget. We go to the LA courthouse, and we're waiting there, hours. The court system is not all that effective or efficient, it seems, in some of their processing. We're sitting in the courtroom. And we had gone through the foster process, and the language that they use, words matter. We're sitting there before the judge, and he uses these words. He says, Mari and Dari, this is Mari and Dari's adoption day out of the foster care system. They said, Mari and Dari were wards of the state, and now they're children of the Bartosiks with every right and privilege of a natural-born child. This is our family portrait, plus Eden someday, a few years from then. It's our family portrait. God doesn't have grandkids. He is building his forever family through an adoption process where he is calling us, not because you were born as part of God's chosen people as an Israelite, but through faith. And in Genesis, God has image bearers that reflect his image that he is calling to be a part of his family. And we see that in the flow of the text. In day 1, God says, let there be light. Day 2, God says, let there be an expanse. God said, day 3, let there sprout vegetation and waters. Day 4, let there be lights. Day 5, and God said, let the waters swarm with. And day 6, he says, let the earth bring forth creatures. And then also on day 6, he says, let there be people. Is that what he says? He says, let us create man in our image after our likeness. That unlike anything else in creation, men and women stand utterly unique because we are a beacon, we are a picture, we're a mirror of the God that created us, and every person is shouting to that design. Let us make man in our image. And next week, we're going to unpack this a little further. What does it mean that we're made in his image as male and female? And so next week, we're going to see how God's design of his image is imprinted when he says, let us make man in our own image, male and female, he created them. So next week, we're going to spend another morning unpacking what it means that we're made in the image of God. But unlike any other thing he created, he then extended this dominion. Humans are given dominion over God's creation. So he created him in his image, and to have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. God created everything and then made us special. Why did he wait till day 6? The pinnacle of his creation, made in his image, to shout, to declare who he is. So then what should we understand about everything else God created? God designed the world as a good home for us. That he made the world good. I just can't help but think of all the little lives that are being born. The nursery is bustling. If you're looking for a place to serve and you want to hold babies, and I never say do anything out of obligation. This borders on if you have any sense. But what happens in that process? You begin preparing. That there's an inevitable preparation process that starts to happen. You start saying, where do I want to put the colors, and where do I want to put the cute little elephant rocking thing that no 2-month-old is actually going to be able to use, and where should we put the beanbag? We start preparing for the arrival. What do we notice in God's creation of the good home he's creating? And God saw the light was good. He begins forming for man's arrival, and he saw the light was good. And God saw that it was good. Day 4, God saw that it was good. Day 5, he saw that it was good. Day 6, God saw that it was good. And then, creating man in his image, he comes to the end on day 6 and says, God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Did work exist before the fall or after the fall? Before. I love you taking a shot, though. Way to be brave. He told Adam and Eve, have dominion over the earth and subdue it. Work is good. Summers in Wisconsin, incredible. Winters too. NFL football? Minnesota Vikings? Some might argue. Every breath we take, God created it good. We're not getting to the fall till week 3, but it changes what heaven is. Heaven isn't sitting up on a cloud somewhere playing a harp. It's a longing to return. Because do we look around and feel that goodness at all times? No. 3 weeks from now, we'll talk about the fall, but part of the adoption story is why. A longing to grow a family, though God, for a period of time, chose not to grow it biologically. There was a time when God saw it as good, and that still permeates our world. And so as we go through this week, tomorrow, a beautiful, wonderful day waiting for us this week. I want to ask 3 questions that I want you to ponder this week. And it starts here. What's shaping your view of God, people, and the world? Because our view of Genesis has a radical impact. When you're watching shows like Kung Fu Panda, like Star Wars, it is trying to impact your worldview. As we interact with the world around us, what is shaping your view of God, people, and the world? If people don't make a distinction between creator and creation, there's a view for that. It's called animism. We start elevating the creatures, the creation, to a level that God did not intend, bordering sometimes on worshiping those said creation. If there's no distinction between God and mankind, where do we look for meaning and purpose? I don't believe in God, I'm just spiritual. Where am I looking for meaning and significance and purpose as I interact with the world? I begin looking inward. If there's no distinction between good and evil when we get to week 3, there's this view of postmodernism that is just pervasive, that it allows a freedom to just say whatever feels good for you. If there's no distinction between God and the way He intended life to work in the beginning, God. We're going to see next week, if there's no distinction between male and female, it produces a gender confusion in our world when we begin to diminish the very way God designed life. So the question becomes, what is shaping your view of God, people, and the world? Is it, in the beginning, God? Second, this week, I'd encourage this question. Is it only those who treasure Jesus that are made in God's image? Every person you interact with, made in God's image. How does that impact your engagement with those that have yet to treasure Jesus? For us around here, I hope a familiar phrase, pray, watch, and step. For us, that is intended to be focused on those that have yet to treasure Jesus. That I begin praying about another image bearer, because God doesn't have grandkids, He only has kids. Through faith, we begin praying to say, God, would you draw so-and-so to yourself? I was on the soccer field the other day, and one of the little kids asked their dad, hey, Dad, why don't we go to church? He goes, you should talk to Coach Dave about that. It is this journey that we're praying for God to actually draw people. You might be sitting in these seats because you are actually on someone's pray, watch, step list, trusting that God is working in and through His Spirit, His way, to draw you more to Himself. How does it impact? Does it change your level of frustration if someone runs over a stroller? Does it change the impact when you're in the workplace and someone does something that frustrates you? What does it mean to interact believing that they are made in God's image? Does that increase your awareness of how you engage with the hopes that they would come to know Jesus? And then, how might you enjoy the good world God created this week, moving you to worship? What are you going to do this week? One thing that was moving to us happened just yesterday. A kid that Casey and I babysat, his name's Otto Kemp. I remember this little knucklehead. I got to officiate his sister's wedding, be a part of his brother's wedding, love this family. Otto Kemp just got pulled up to the Phillies because Bryce Harper got injured. And so he was playing third base yesterday, for anybody that has any clue who Bryce Harper is. He's a major league player for the Phillies. We just enjoyed, now he went 0 for 3, so we didn't enjoy that part as much. But we enjoyed watching this growth of this young man play a sport that he loves on an elite level. What'd you enjoy yesterday? And do you see that as a reflection of God's good gifts? And the question then is, what are you going to enjoy this week, today, this summer? I'd encourage you this summer, make a list. What are you longing to enjoy as a reflection of who God is moving you to worship? And as a family, something that struck me just as we were sitting around the table this week, what would a backyard scavenger hunt look like? Finding something that's green, flying, soft, and then actually thanking God for each one. As a family, going on a scavenger hunt. Or possibly as a group or as an everyday missionary, take a hike or a walk and talk. But as best you can, leaving the phone at home, looking around, and maybe ending with prayer and a reflection of what you've observed. I'm going to invite the worship team up. As we get into this summer series, the Bible is a true story of a holy God lovingly restoring a broken world through Christ to gather people from every nation to belong to His forever family. Maybe this summer it's a chance for you to reflect on, do I belong to that forever family? Maybe this summer at Camp Fairwood, through baptism, you declare your finding life in that forever family. Or if this forever family is one you belong to, enjoy God more fully in the goodness of this earth that He created for us. Thank you, Jesus. Always.